Hi everyone, my name is Norman, I run the blog nimbleneedles.com, and today I want to show you how to knit Bavarian twisted stitches. Bavarian twisted stitches, sometimes also called traveling twisted stitches, is a regional knitting style from my home country Germany. The basic idea is offsetting intricate cables with purl stitches using a special technique so you actually don't need a cable needle. So let's dive right into it. I grew up in Bavaria, can you believe it? And this is actually how I learned knitting. I really love knitting these traditional designs, and I thought it was about high time to make a little video about it. This is actually one of my latest sock knitting patterns. It's for free, so I'm going to link it in the description below in case you are interested. I'll guide you through the most important techniques first, and then I'll talk a little bit about things you need to consider for better results. First, let's show you the basic stitch. Essentially, it's nothing but a purl stitch. Then you knit one through the back loop. So insert the needle through the back loop and pick the yarn, and then a purl stitch, and then a purl stitch. And that way you create these really elevated lines in your pattern. If you still need to catch up on how to knit through the back loop, I'll link you my tutorial in the description below. So far so easy. The magic happens when you cross stitches, and Bavarian twisted stitches are actually nothing else but 1 by 1 twisted cables. So you're knitting the cables, not regular knit stitches, but you're knitting through the back loop. And there are actually 4 different stitches. There's traveling to the left, which translates to Zugmasche nach links, traveling to the right, which translates to Zugmasche nach rechts, crossing left stitch, Kreuzung nach links, and crossing right stitch in front, Kreuzung nach rechts. I'll be starting with traveling to the left. This means we are going to try or cable in a way so this stitch travels in this direction, because we want to continue this line. We are not going to use a cable needle because there are so many cable crosses in traditional Bavarian patterns, you would go insane. Instead, this is what you do. Insert the right needle into the second stitch on your left needle from behind. Then push the thumb against the first stitch. Push it and then drop the stitch. And then immediately pick it up with the left needle again, and then slip the second stitch back on the first needle, and now we can purl one and knit one through the back loop. This was our first traveling to the left. Let's do it one more time. So insert the needle into the second stitch, secure the first stitch with your thumb, drop it, pick it up, and then slip the second stitch back to your left needle, and then just knit it. One last time. Insert, drop, slip, and knit. So good. Of course, you can also travel to the right or right twist stitch. The German is Zugmasche nach rechts, and in this case you insert the right needle into the second stitch from the front. Then you use your index finger or whatever other finger and push it against the needle, drop it, immediately pick it up and slip the stitch back onto the left needle, and then you knit through the back loop and purl. It's really the same thing, just the other way around. So let's do it one more time. So insert in front, secure with your index finger, drop, pick it up, slip, and knit through the back loop and lift. One last time. So insert, secure, drop, slip back, knit through the back loop, lift. Once you get the hang of this, you will never ever want to knit a cable with a cable needle again. So earlier I mentioned the two kinds of traveling stitches, to the left and to the right, which I just showed you, and also two crossing stitches, to the left and to the right. So how do you knit these? Well, actually there is no difference at all. You knit them exactly the same. The only difference is that instead of a knit through the back loop and a purl, you have two knit through the back loop stitches. So this is how you would do left cross. So in this case, insert the needle into the second stitch, drop it, pick it up, and slip it, and now you just knit this one through the back loop and this one through the back loop. So it's really just the same thing. And if you want to do crossing to the right, let me get there quickly. You will insert the needle into the second stitch from the front, then slip it, and knit through the back loop twice. And that really is all the magic there is. With these two simple techniques, you can actually access like 90% of all Bavarian knit-on patterns. So how great is that? So some tutorials I have seen will show you the Bavarian twisted stitches using a slightly different technique. You don't necessarily have to drop the stitches. You can also knit them in a different order without dropping them. So this is how it would go. Bring the yarn to the front for a left trailing stitch, that is. Bring the yarn to the front, and we're going to knit this purl stitch first, and then we knit through the back loop, all on the left needle. So insert your right needle into the in between the gap between the two stitches, and then insert the needle as if to purl, and then bring it to the front, and then purl, and then knit through the back loop and drop. It will result in the same left traveling twisted stitch. But I really want to be perfectly honest with you. Nobody I know here in Bavaria knits like this. This technique only works if you're really knitting with a loose tension, and it tends to loosen up these stitches on top of that. And these two facts, however, are exactly the things you shouldn't do when knitting Bavarian stitches, which brings me to my next section. So let's talk about the things to perfect your traditional Bavarian twisted stitch patterns. The first thing you need to know is usually they are knit in the round. And I mean, you can convert the traditional patterns and stitches to knitting flat. That's usually no problem. But a lot of knitters have a different tension when they knit their knits and purls. So definitely you need to get this straight, especially as most Bavarian or all Bavarian knitters are continental knitters. And I know a lot of English throwers have quite some problems with their purl tension and knitting those purl stitches. So that's definitely something you would have to work on if you are knitting flat or in the round. And then the designs are usually knit on very, very small needles. You can certainly use bigger needles and chunkier yarn, but the problem is that most traditional designs, like this one here, one repeat has like 18 stitches, and there's a lot of those repeats. And if you knit a sock with just 50 stitches in the round, you will only be able to fit 2 of these into one round, and it's probably not going to look the same way. And then of course we need to talk about the yarn. Actually, standard sock wool like this Regia by Schachmeyer is perfect. You don't want anything fuzzy, you want something with a nice stitch definition. Cotton is actually also a favorite material for women's stockings. So and go for something semi-solid or just one color, because if there is, you know, U-shift and speckles and all that kind of thing, the pattern gets lost and you won't really see it, and that would be quite the shame. And one last thing I really want you to know, Bavarian twisted stitches take some practice. I've been knitting this, you know, all my life basically, and that's how it looks. So I think, I mean, you know, I really think this looks super neat, but the stitches themselves are not all that hard to knit. However, if the stitches are not even and you cannot do these crossings without stretching the stitches too much, the results will, well, they will look a bit messy, and that would be quite the pity. So I really recommend you knitting a little swatch, or maybe even a bigger swatch, before you start your first real project, because this will make all the difference. Anyway, that's it. That's how you knit, or rather I knit, the Bavarian twisted stitches. I really hope I was able to teach you this amazing technique and you enjoyed this video. Make sure to give me a big thumbs up if you liked it, and of course consider subscribing to my channel in case you don't want to miss any new videos. Happy knitting!